So after that, we are having also the VM architecture. So recently, again, Microsoft has added this particular feature. So Azure provides the choice which particular architecture you want. You want the ARM64 or you want a simple x64. So if you look into that, your laptop, these are having the x64 most of the time. But if some of the machines are having the ARM64, then specifically you can just use that one. So let me just select my this one data. Okay, done. And now this is particularly supported with some particular images only, not all the images. And then we will going to talk about the Azure Spot instance. Now, what is mean by the Azure Spot instance? Now, if you read that particular point, it says that capacity only and price or capacity and eviction. Eviction is there. Eviction type and eviction policy, which means stop and deallocate and delete. Now, what happened over here? Let's say, just I'm taking an example, okay? Let's say in my data center, this is my data center. In my data center, there are, I have a 100 VMs or 100 vCPUs. I have a 100 vCPUs, right? I have provisioned that. It should be a very, very higher number. I'm just taking an example. 100 vCPUs. Now that 100 vCPUs, out of that 100 vCPUs, 90 vCPUs are already utilized by some users, virtual machines. Let's say that utilized by virtual machines, and they are paying a perfect pricing. Let's say 6 rupees per hour, or 12 rupees per hour, 13 rupees per hour, like that they are just paying for it. Now 10 vCPUs are remaining, right? Now what happened if you remember in last many years ago, we are having that schema, the schema which is the kind of for the mobile phone. So if I'm calling someone, it will charge me 1 rupees per minute, right? But in a daytime. But if I'm calling someone in a night time, it will be some lesser pricing, lesser costly, right? So they will provide us some discounts. So like that, if there are 10 vCPUs are remaining, then Microsoft will give you some choice to take a discount on it. So let's say if I'm taking the discount, instead of paying for 10 rupees per hour for that thing, I can pay only 2 rupees per hour. It means if you are using the Azure Spot instance, if you enable it, Microsoft gives you 80% discount, 80 to 90% of discount. Now what happens? It means I don't want to pay more and more. Then whenever Microsoft gives us some discount, then it is coming with some limitation. Now what is that limitation? The limitation is if somebody wants that vCPUs for their end, Microsoft will evict that virtual machine from me at that same moment, right? So here I can specify the eviction type. I can decide, okay. So if somebody wants the capacity, let's say virtual machine skill sets are there, 10 VMSs are there, and suddenly they want a more vCPU, then they will take it from here directly. At that moment, I lost my vCPU, right? So this is the capacity only. So whenever Microsoft needs some capacity, then my virtual machine will be evicted from me at that point. Or otherwise, if somebody asks for the pricing or the capacity should be there. If somebody wants the capacity, for the capacity, Microsoft has to evict it from us. But if somebody asking for the more pricing, okay, you are paying 2 rupees, I'm paying 10 rupees per hour. I'm okay with that. then at that time also Microsoft will evict that virtual machine from you or vCPU from you and give it to that particular person. Now, whenever this will happen, eviction, then virtual machine is having a two things. First one is a compute, which is the vCPU, and another one is the storage. Now, whenever we are having a compute means vCPU, it will evict only the vCPUs if you are selecting the stop or deallocate. It means virtual machine is having a compute, which is the vCPU, as well as all the disk part, your OS disk, your data disk, all these disks are stored inside the storage, right? So whenever you are, let's say laptop, if I'm I switch off my laptop, then what will happen? It is just a kind of power consumption, right? I'm just reducing that power consumption. That's why I'm just switch off my laptop, right? It doesn't mean that my all the data and all the files and folders are lost. No, it should not be like that. So like this only, virtual machine is having the storage separate and compute separate. So if I'm saying that compute, if this compute is not working or if it is evicted from us, if you stop that virtual machine, at that time, Microsoft will evict the compute charges from you. Compute charges from you. But Microsoft will charge you for the storage. It means your OS disk is there, your data disk is there, everything is there, virtual networking, each and everything is there. Only not the vCPU. That's it. And whenever I start my virtual machine, Microsoft will assign one vCPU over here and with that storage. Is this clear? One participant has asked me the question regarding with that. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So now stop or deallocate. I can make a choice. So if that particular in the Azure Spot instance specifically, if that virtual machine is not that much required for me, then I can go for a delete, directly delete each and everything. Or otherwise I can just do the stop or deallocate, means they will evict my vCPUs, but my storage is there. So I can create another virtual machine with that storage, right? With that disk. Now, where we can add it? If Microsoft evict at any time, then where we can use that Azure Spot instance option? Why we required to reduce our cost? So this is a kind of testing. So sometimes what happens if you want to just test some of the images or anything or any virtual machine, some small things for the 5 to 10 minutes start, then you can go for this Azure Spot instance. Or otherwise, what happens most of the time in a VMSS. Let's say VMSS, I have provision for 5 instances, and it has already reached to that 5 instances. So whenever it is reaching to the 5 instances, it won't get more instances after that. But you have to handle that traffic, and that traffic is coming like in a for 5 to 10 minutes only. So if we are having a sale at that particular time period only, the traffic will be increases. After that, the traffic will be decreases. So in order to handle 2 to 3 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes of traffic, I'm not adding more instances over here. Instead of that, I will add another instance from here, Azure Spot instance. Why waste 10 rupees per hour? Instead of that 2 rupees per hour for 2 to 3 minutes requirement, I can add that particular virtual machine over here by using that Azure Spot. So these two things are there where you can use that Azure Spot instance, right? Now this part is done. Still it is for the testing purpose, then also I don't want it. So I can just close this.
So Madhvi, coming back to that spot discount, So when the traffic or concurrent users are high during the sale time, so I will be just removing the stop button, or it will be on, still the stop button will be on.
Which one?
The Azure discount point, discount, uh, the checkbox, there is a stop and deallocated, right?
Yes.
So that will be on, right? That point of time when the concurrent users will be high, or I'm including one other VM to the in that case, correct?
So see what happened over here at that same moment. It is a sudden thing.
Yeah.
Microsoft is evicting from their end, so we cannot predict that things, right? But
Correct.
let's say you have taken a RDP of it and you are working on that virtual machine. Suddenly you get disconnected with that virtual machine.
Uh-huh.
You lost that virtual machine.
Correct.
So, but you at least have that option enabled, stop or deallocate. Means your all the OS disk and data disk will be there
Okay.
in the portal. So you can just use that particular disk and you can create a new virtual machine.
Okay. And the scenario which you just explained, like for example, the sales point of view, that if there I need another VM altogether. So in that case, what will be the option for clicked out here in the eviction type?
Sales point of view means
Like if the sales during a sale, like any kind of sale in Flipkart, the consumption of the machines are high. So what would be the option that we would be choosing from the eviction option? Like,
so you can just choose the delete option. You can
okay,
choose the delete then for the few of the minutes, or after that you don't require that virtual machine, then you can just choose the delete option.
okay.
All right.
But I need the data of that during that concurrent situation. So,
Let's stop or deallocate.
okay,
It's up to you. What do you want? Do you want to save that storage part, or do you want to delete each and everything?
okay. So this is a permanent option which we need to choose and keep it aside, right?
Yes.
Ma-
Yes.
This is just it's a permanent setting which we can do, and this is the best practice setting which I can see right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Perfect. So let's go for that size. Now, size means what? Whenever we are purchasing a laptop again, then we have multiple options, right? We have a N series, G series, I series, H series. Now, what is mean by that series? So they are looking the same. There are the performance and all these things are looking like the same, but in the configuration point of view, they are changed. Maybe somebody is using that i5 core i5, or maybe somebody uses i3 or anything, right? So here also we are having a different sizes. So if you go over here, you will get a multiple sizes, 5, and here you can see that pricing as well. So the two things, as per your requirement, as per your workload, or as per the costing, you have to choose your size. Now, if I'm getting inside that all the sizes, see here, you will get this thing. So these are the sizes and these are the families, or I can say that these are the categories. So we have a general purpose category, we have a memory optimized, we have a compute optimized, we have a GPU and all that families. So here we are having a multiple families, and these are the series. If I'm going through that E series, then here we will have a memory optimized. Now, what happened over here? We will get a vCPU, we will get a RAM. So you can choose that RAM, 8 GB RAM, 4 GB RAM, 1 GB RAM, data disk. So this is not a GB. This data disk is how many data disks you can attach for a one virtual machine. So if I'm using that 8 GB and D2SV3 series, then I can attach 4 data disks on that. Maximum IOPS and temporary storage. So temporary storage, as this is the whole things are virtual, right? So it will generate a log file in the back end. So that log file should be stored inside a temporary storage. So that 16 GB is for the temporary storage. You cannot use that temporary storage for your data storage. So let's say if I'm using that RAM, 8 GB RAM, and we are getting a 16 GB temporary storage. So that is sufficient for me. I don't want to create a data disk for that separately. I don't want to pay for it. So that it should not be like this. You can use only C drive, which is the RAM, but you cannot use a temporary storage. You can add a files into that, but it will get discarded whenever you are resizing that virtual machine, or whenever something went wrong with that virtual machine, that files will be discarded. First of all, temporary storage will be flushed out, right? So that's why we cannot keep our data in that particular temporary storage. After that, we are having a temporary, premium disk. We are having the premium disk part, whether it is supported or not. So by default, every virtual machine has been supported for that. And then we are having a costing, right? So as per the cost, if you are ready to go with that, you can just select it and then select it. Now let's talk about the family. So we are having a different families. So we are having general purpose. So general purpose, yes, go ahead.
You said we can attach 4 disks. Is there limitation on the disk per disk?
Yes, I will show you that. Okay.
And these discs are the ones which we use for the scale set, like horizontal, vertical?
No. We are using this one. See here. If you are increasing the size to this one, 16, then you can add a 8 disk for that. You can attach. So let's say right now I am having that 8 GB, so I can attach a 4 data disk. But whenever I am increasing the vertical scaling by using that 16 GB, so I can attach 8 data disk. Got it? So this is a kind of vertical scaling only. This is not the horizontal scaling.
Got it.
Okay. Now, general purpose, most of the time, all the demonstration and all these things, lab purpose, everything, we are using the general purpose because it is suitable for the, or I can say that it is ideal for the testing and development and the small to medium databases or the low to medium web servers. If you want to create it, you can just easily go for the general purpose series, which is most of the time D series and some of the B series and A series and C series virtual machine. So you can just see that, okay, there are some series, D series virtual machine. So these are the D series virtual machine. So you can just go through that. So as per your choice, you can just select your series. Now see here, these are the confidential compute. If you remember, there is a security option, and inside that security option, we are having that confidential, right? So these are the virtual machine or the sizes where you can add a confidential, the security. So no one can easily hack that. Microsoft will treat that particular virtual machine as a very confidential. So you can just add that DC series, protect the confidentiality and integrity of the code, right? So these are the ones. So another family is there, which is the compute optimized. So compute optimized is having a F series virtual machine. See here, compute optimized. Now where we can use that compute optimized? So whenever we are having a medium traffic web servers or the network appliances like a batch processors or the application server, we can go for the compute optimized family. Also, we can go for the memory optimized, where let's say my virtual machine is having that SQL server. It is acting as a SQL server. If I want to install the SQL on that, then I can just use that memory optimized instead of the normal general purpose or anything. Or if I want to use my virtual machine for the medium to large caches or the in-memory analytics, then I can choose this memory optimized virtual machine. Also, I can go for L series, which is a storage optimized. Now, if you look into that, so this is my RAM. And for the RAM, this is the highest here. It is starting from the 64 GB, 128 GB, and so on. So, and the IOPS are also higher, and the temporary storage is also higher. So this is what a temp storage optimized. So whenever you want to have a databases, or it's a big data kind of thing, whenever you require that, then sorry, you can go for the L series machine. Also, we have a N series machine. So as per my subscription, I'm not eligible for the N series of virtual machine. So N series means what? It's a kind of GPU family. GPU family means what? Let's say on my virtual machine, if I want to create a videos or the, let's say, animation kind of thing, where there is a more and more graphic rendering, then you can choose a GPU series or the N series virtual machine. And also I'm not having the high performance compute, which is the HPC. HPC family is the, or I can say that high performance compute family is the supercomputer. So I think you already know about that supercomputers, which is having the highest RAM, highest data, and all these things, highest IOPS, and it is very, very fast virtual machine. So if you are having, it is most of the time used into that scientific purpose, or let's say it is using into that hospital, where there is a huge amount of data is coming every day, and your all machines are working together on that, right? So you can use that series of virtual machines for this one. So right now I'm okay with that B2S V3 virtual machine, which is the 8 GB RAM. This is sufficient for me. I'm okay with that. Now let's add the username and password. So as whenever you start your PC, then it will ask you for the admin username and password. So this is my username and password for this virtual machine login purpose. So I can just add that one, Salunke, as my username, and then I can add my okay. So this part is done. Now here, as I said, whenever we are using the infrastructure as a service, this is my infrastructure as a service virtual machine. And rest other things are taken care by Microsoft. What are that things? My storage, networking, virtualization, everything. It means I'm creating only the virtual machine, but in the back end, Microsoft is creating other things for me, which is the prerequisite for this particular virtual. Now, what are that prerequisites? Whenever I'm creating a one virtual machine, it will create 5 to 6 services or the resources in the backend. Now, one of the resource is this inbound and outbound port rule. Without this is called as a NSG. Without this permission, no one can access a virtual machine from anywhere. So this is what a network access. So whenever I'm selecting the virtual machine as a Windows virtual machine, then by default, it will open the RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, to connect with your virtual machine. Here, this will allow all the IP addresses to access your virtual machine, which is port number is a 3389. So if I'm accessing anything from the internet, if it is a HTTP protocol, then it is having that 80 number port enabled. If it is we are accessing HTTPS, then by default it is having the 443 port open. And whenever I'm selecting the Ubuntu or Linux virtual machine, it will open that SSH, which is the secure shell, which is number is 22. So it is enabling that port rule from the backend, right? So this is an NSG. So let's count one. This is one NSG, right? So this is a one resource whenever I'm creating the virtual machine. And this is a licensing. Now, what is meant by the licensing over here? Let's say you are migrating your on-premises to the cloud. But in an on-premises, you have already purchased your license for the Windows license. Then instead of wasting that license, you can utilize that particular license over here and you will get a benefit of 49% discount in your cost. So you can apply that here, you can just apply it, confirm it, and then you can just apply your license fee, right? So right now I don't have it, so I just put it as it is. Now here we are having the second resource with that virtual machine, which is a disk part, which is having the OS disk, which is having the data disk. And now OS disk, this is my OS disk, operating system disk. So here I will have a 3 options. So if you search for that, your laptop, so the recent laptops are having SSD, single state drive. But if you look into our older versions of the PCs and the machines, then it will have a, it was having a HDD, which is a hard disk drive. It's a kind of a spindle structure to add the data on that particular disk, write and read that data from the particular disk, which is using that HDD and SSD. So if you are having a requirement only for the backup or the non-critical or the testing purpose, you can just choose the HDD. If you are having the web servers or if anything, then you can go for the SSD. But if you want a better performance, then you can go for the premium one. And see here, just observe this, okay? Locally redundant storage. Whatever you are using, standard or the standard HDD, it will use the LRS by default. Now, what is mean by the redundancy? That part we will going to talk in our storage account part, right? So right now I'm okay with the standard. As I said, whatever I'm selecting over here, it will replicate it on my cost. Now here, delete with a VM. This is an option. So if you want that option, you can just take that option. So whenever I'm deleting that virtual machine, it will delete my OS disk as well. Or you can just cancel this, right? But right now I want it. Now here, key management. Key management means what? If you search in your laptop, there is a BitLocker. By default, every processor is encrypting your data. So here also, virtual machine by default is encrypted by your Microsoft. But if you want to encrypt it, then you can choose a customer managed. Platform management, Microsoft is managing. You are using the customer managed means you need to select your key vault and you need to secure that data. You need to encrypt and decrypt it by yourself. So you can do that. Now there is another thing is there, which is the enable ultra disk compatibility. So this is supported in a availability zone and selected VM size only, V2S, V3, right? Now what is mean by that ultra disk compatibility? So ultra disk is having a higher performance, right? Now, this will require in a SAP workload where we require more and more higher performance of that disk. So right now it is disabled because I have not enabled my availability zone because I don't require it. Now here, if you want to attach a new disk, you can attach it. If you already have a disk, then you can just attach an existing disk from here as well. So you can just select your existing disk if you have, and then you can just attach it. Otherwise, you can just go from here to create a new disk. Now I can say that, okay, disk 1. I can say that this is my disk 1 and it is an empty. Source type will be the empty one, not the storage blob and not the snapshot. This is not a snapshot, this is not the storage blob. So if you already have something in your storage account or in your snapshot, you can just use that. Otherwise, you can just put it as an empty disk. And see here, this is the size. Now, as per my configuration, I can attach 4 data disks. And one disk I can go up to 35 TB. See here? And this is a gigabytes. Microsoft is calculating as the gigabytes. but we are using the GB, terabytes, gigabytes like that. So here some considerations are different. So 1 GB is equal to something, some difference is there in a point. So you will get that. Okay, let me just put that over here. So see here, this is the calculation for that gigabytes, right? And Microsoft is using this one only. Everywhere you will get a GIB, not the GB, right? So this is the one. So now if I'm calculating this particular thing, it will go up to 35 TB data space. And you can attach it. It is up to you, you can just attach it. So right now, I don't want that much because whenever I'm attaching it, it will add the costing for that. So let's say I'm attaching it for the 64 GB. That's it, 64 GB is sufficient, or I can say that, okay, 16 GB is sufficient or 32 GB is sufficient for me. So I can just put that and that's it. Enable the share disk, you can just enable it or disable it. Share disk means what? You can share that disk. You can just divide that drive in a different parts. You can just do that. And delete the disk with the VM. Yes, I want to delete it. And then add it. Done. Let me just delete this one. That's it. One disk is sufficient for me for the demonstration. And then here we have an advanced option, which is a managed. By default, all the virtual machines are managed by Microsoft. Management what? Whenever we are having the disk, then it gets updated in a backend. Microsoft will do the update. Microsoft will maintain it, everything. So this is called as a managed. So Microsoft will do the patching, updation, each and everything from their end. So this is called as a managed disk. If I'm not using the managed disk, so this my virtual machine or the generation 2 is not supported for the unmanaged disk. If I'm not selecting this, then it is the unmanaged disk. And whenever this is an unmanaged disk, it will ask me for the storage account. If it is a managed disk, it will store it in a disk resources. The name of that resource is a disk. But if it is unmanaged, then you have to create your storage account and you have to store that in a storage account. So this will ask you for the storage account, right? So that's it. So right now I don't want it. I'm okay with my managed disk. Is this clear regarding with the disk part? Any questions?
No, Madhavi.
Yes, clear.
And okay, this is flushed up. Let me just add that disk. One. Okay, empty disk, change size of 32 GB, and then select with that VM and okay. So right now it's 11:10. So shall we take a break?
It's good, Madhavi.
Yeah.
So then we will go for one by one. So I don't think so as per this space, we can complete only the virtual machine in a detail. Is that be okay for that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Agenda is let's complete the virtual machine. Let's host some server on that. How to do that? Where create a web server on it, and then perform the task from your end as well.
Okay.
Understanding on the Azure portal. At least you can just touch that portal as today itself. Okay.